So far, you've learned about some of the steps the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is taking to drive interoperability and collaborate more on mission needs. Now, two private sector pros talk innovation, network transformation, and more. I spoke with Perspecta Labs Vice President Tony Bogovic and CenturyLink Vice President Scott Barnett at AFCEA's TechNet Cyber 2019 in Baltimore, Maryland. Tony, I'll start with you. Tell me what goes on in Perspecta Labs. Tell me the kind of work that you're doing.
Absolutely, thanks for the question. Perspecta Labs excels at creating innovative technologies and providing services that tackle really the most complicated and difficult communications and information challenges. We work in many broad areas, including analytics, cyber, cognitive technologies, artificial intelligence, of course mobile networking and wireless. Given our lineage, which is Bell Labs, Bell Core, Telcordia, we work in the networking and network management space, so developing, monitoring, managing tools, working on next generation networking technologies like quantum networking, for example. And we like to endeavor to take these technologies and really have an impact out in the field.
How do you stay ahead of the innovation curve? How do you know what is over the horizon so that you can be prepared to deliver it to practitioners both in government and outside?
So we're always operating on the bleeding edge. And as an example, say with distributed denial of service defense, there are a number of capabilities out there, filtering capabilities, patch capabilities, if you will. But what we focus on is how to essentially ensure that the network is resilient, that the design of the network is resilient from like DDoS attacks. So with DARPA funding, for example, we created 3 technologies that one serve to maneuver around sort of like a moving target defense, if you will, such that it takes into account deceptive practices so that the attacker feels like they're successful, but meanwhile they're not. Other technologies within that portfolio, for example, is a dispersion component. So what that basically means is you have some very high value servers, for example, email servers, file servers, DNS servers, and now they're essentially a central loci. They're very centralized, and to the extent that you can disperse the information that's resonant within these servers, it's that much more difficult to attack. So for the attacker that's doing recon or ISR, there is this inability really to really identify these servers because they're now distributed. And a third technology within that portfolio is something we called endpoint defense and response. So given the DDoS attacks are both botnet-induced volumetric attacks as well as protocol and application-specific attacks. And with this latter technology, it really handles all 3, right? So the low volume attacks, if you will, the application or protocol specific attacks, they tend to be rely on malformed exchanges with protocols and whatnot, so it's very hard to detect. So we have high fidelity detectors and then in turn do mitigation on these servers in order to get around such.
I was going to piggyback on that. One of the ways that we kind of stay ahead of the curve or look over the horizon is we spend a lot of time understanding what our customers need. What is their mission? What is the, how is that developing for them. What do they see over the horizon? And getting that feedback is really important.
And I imagine the partnerships with partners like him are important, because there's the old buggy whip analogy. If you gave the customer exactly what the customer wanted, they'd have a nicer buggy whip, and it doesn't do anybody.
And you're right on it. It's very important, as we heard today from Admiral Norton, that industry gets together in a partnership alignment, and we bring solutions to the government or to DISA or to the Department of Defense that they can use in their mission.
That's the question that I get asked from CIOs and other technology practitioners inside government more often than not. What do you see, meaning me, over the horizon, because they're so busy in the business of the day that they don't have time to think that far out. What do you see over the horizon when you're looking at this innovation landscape like Tony's talking about and all of that?
Well, and it's really upon us right now. It's the adaptive network. It's the ability to adapt your technology, your platform, your capability to their mission set. And whether that mission is oriented around healthcare or you're in theater with it, you've got to be able to almost, in every case, adapt to that mission in real time. And that's what they're expecting. So whether it's the warrior or the warfighter or the healthcare practitioner, you've got to be able to bring those tools to them, and they've got to be able to change them on the fly.